Creepies 2 Las Vegas Attack is a 2004 science fiction movie from Jeff Leroy and is unsurprisingly a sequel to Creepies, a giant spider movie which I reviewed last October. If you haven't seen Creepies, this one starts off with a hefty highlight reel with a narration catching you up on everything. One of the main pros for the first film was all the practical effects, and thankfully there's a bunch here as well. The first scene looks like they're going through a haunted house. But of course the main draw of the movie is giant practical spiders, cityscapes, and that mech on the cover art. Not to say there's not CG, there's a lot of CG spiders. And they don't look good. The giant robot shows up pretty much right at the start of the movie to finish cleaning up LA, but this movie's not about LA, it's about Las Vegas, where, you guessed it, now there's a Creepies problem there. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of bad CG, and a lot of bad everything. Acting, story, effects, but with plenty of shot changes, interesting camera angles, and love that a lot of other movies of this budget lack. And while the characters aren't super interesting or likable by any means, they don't kill the fun of the film during the non-action sequences, which sadly happened with Leroy's other giant monster feature, Rat Scratch Fever. The costumes are serviceable, the sets are honestly pretty well done, look at this cockpit. There's still some decent practical explosions, mazer-like vehicles, spider out of head is nice. What I will complain about is the robot design. It looks very much like just a robot they bought off the shelf. Maybe they stuck some extra plates and wires on it. I think its face changes at some points, or I just didn't notice the face early on. There's a lot more giant CG spiders on real buildings in this one, which is a con. Both the giant size CG and practical stuff don't look real, but at least the practical buildings have charm. Look at this scene with a homemade Sphinx. Nice. Then put it against this scene where there's a practical miniature roller coaster, but then it's swapped out for a CG one when it comes in contact with the spider. The second example is just worse. The spiders sometimes sound like they're using Heisei Godzilla noises and sometimes Spiga Kamunga noises. Very odd. There's a part where two mazer type tanks are going after a spider and it goes on way too long. They blow some stuff up, say something which is usually just the name of a game or a reference to gambling, and the dialogue never made the scene better, and the fact that it kept happening is bad. The big fight isn't too interesting, other than a good explosion. Basically comes down to smashing two action figures together. I'm not entirely sure what went wrong with Creepies 2, even with the setting being in Las Vegas, which allows for more memorable set pieces from various other locations to be used, and a giant spider versus mech fight. This is overall not as enjoyable as the first Creepies. Maybe it was all the CG. Maybe it was just the first one set expectations a bit too high. Regardless, Creepies 2 is not great. Maybe not even good, but also not a huge chore to sit through, so if you want some low budget giant practical spiders, this won't be a terrible time. Plus, Jeff Leroy put it up for free on his YouTube, so it won't cost you any money to see. Thanks for watching.